She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today. We always start with a joke. Morgan, you have to read that joke for the recording. It's so hilarious.
Okay. The furniture store salesman told me this sofa will seat 5 people without any problems. I said, where am I going to find 5 people without any problems?
Exactly. And that's why we have this podcast, right? Because who has a life without problems? So funny.
Gosh.
So before we get started, I wanted to say hi to my good friend, Teresa. I know that she's listening, and I just welcome to the family. Thank you for being present. Yeah,
Teresa.
Thank you for saying hi to my friend. In case you're new here, in case it's the first episode that you're listening to, welcome. Each week, we talk about our stuff and where it came from, how we deal with it, how we apply spiritual principles in leading a peaceful life, or I would say less problematic, seeing the peace of God in the people that we interact with, in ourselves, and how to navigate from where we were to where we are. Melissa, I think you have a good story to start us off.
I do. Okay. It's actually about losing the peace of God. And I really, try my hardest in life to, I've been learning that it doesn't matter what's outside of me. It's just how I react and what I'm responsible for, and my thoughts, my actions, and acceptance is the answer to everything today. And so if I can wrap my mind around that, I can have a lot of peace in my life. So I lost it. I lost the peace I so much crave every day and I work for. And that's what it was like. I worked so hard for this and I let it go so quickly. So I was asked, I went to Florida to be with my son and help him pack up his condo. And I was hot and tired and I flew back home to Denver and got home at like midnight. And for like 2 weeks before, my mother had been asking me to go to this doctor's appointment that was really important to her. She had to go. She's been in a lot of pain. She's just recently gotten diagnosed with a stomach thing. So anyways, she finally got an appointment and we're finally going. And I flew home at midnight and I had to be at this appointment at 7:45 a.m. So I get there and my mom doesn't show up. And she called and she was behind an accident and got, she just couldn't avoid it. And so I went to the front and I said, my mother's here. We've been waiting for so long. I flew in from Florida for this appointment. She just called and said, she's like 3 miles away. And I just want you to know, so we can go in right when she gets here. And the lady's like, oh, no. She has 2 minutes. If she doesn't get here, tough. She literally, I was like, oh, my mom's almost 80. She's been in a lot of pain and And the lady's like, well, now she has a minute. And I was like,
wow,
I lost it. And I don't know if you remember, but the very first episode of our show, I said, I used to be a bully. And guess who showed up to defend my mother and her appointment? And I was like, I'm not leaving this doctor's office. I'm not leaving this chair. I will walk back there and get the doctor myself. And the office manager came out, and I was abusive to her. And I felt very righteous. I felt very protective of my mother. I was mostly so stressed out. I was really tired, but I was so stressed out because I felt really responsible for my mother, and she is struggling. And it was like so close, but so far, this appointment. They were right on the other side of the wall, and I couldn't understand what the problem we were having. So anyways, I just let it go. And like I said, I was abusive to her. I used some language, foul language, and which really pushed her buttons, which pushed my buttons. So anyways, long story longer is that when I left, she was shaking. The office manager was visibly upset. She was shaking. My mother even said, "You look very angry," and she could hardly talk. She was mumbling in her, like just really struggling. Like I felt when I walked out that she probably cried. So here I am in a spiritual program, leading some spiritual classes and stuff like that. And I made another human being who's completely valuable and a child of God. I made her very upset. And it was so unlike me and so like me. But it was a really huge wake-up call to the fact that this used to be me. Like I would do that. Like I had no problem in life. Like I just felt like I could steamroll through things, and I am pretty smart. And so I could outsmart some people and not respect them as humans, as God, as children of God. So anyway, I couldn't stand it. I just craved peace so much. And I'm so now accustomed to cleaning up my side of the street that I called and apologized. And I personally started crying because I was like, this is not who I want to be. You're valuable. And I'm really sorry. And I was abusive. And I just am ashamed of what I said and did. And what was driving me to do that was, in my mind, seeing this woman so hurt, and knowing that I did that. And I wanted that hurt to lift for her. I didn't want it to continue for her. I just was really feeling hurt for her. And so anyways, I made the tough call and cleaned it up and told him, don't worry, we're not coming back. And, I'm not calling for any to not be a Karen or whatever. I'm really calling to let you know that you're a valuable person, and I didn't value that. So anyways, for me, it was like being an alcoholic and picking up a drink after so many years. It was just this behavior that is the old story. Like, that's not my new story. That's not who I want to be. And it's a big, long story. But the bottom line is that behavior does not bring me the peace of God. And I felt like I had to do anything I could to get back the peace. So anyways, that was a big story for, attaching to things that pull me away from the peace of my heart and the peace I have with other humans.
Well, I just want to jump in with a couple of things. Sorry, Amanda, were you going to say something?
I was just going to ask her some questions about, like, did your mom get seen by the doctor? Like this.
I know, I'm very invested in this story.
No.
Storytelling.
Did the doctor get seen?
No. Mm-mm.
No. Boo. Yeah. I don't know if Penny, let me just see if this is different. You know, we can certainly switch to your question, but just to follow up on that, like, I totally get you wanting to defend your mom. Like, I totally get that. And like the receptionist, like that was just rude, you know, like there's other ways that she could have handled that situation too. So I totally get the multiverse aspect of that. And like, so there's gotta be a sweet spot. Like, clearly making other people cry, Melissa, is not who you want to be anymore.
No.
How do you get your 80-year-old mother seen at the doctor?
Yeah. Well, rejection's God's protection. And I don't have the whole story. I don't know the whole scene. I don't know the whole thing. You know, the ins and outs, the 3D aspect of it, the who, whys, wheres, and hows. But I think it was a pretty harsh delivery for her. But if I were to have said, this is really important, which I kind of did, right? And I got the wall, then I could have had acceptance about it. Right? I think I could have, like, oops, you know, guess we're not going to the doctor today. But I was fighting.
Yeah.
Completely in the world of form, like I totally get it. Completely understandable.
Totally
get that. And if your thinking was different, and like there's also an aspect of like radical responsibility too. So like the receptionist, like, did she get up on the bad day? Did like the person before, did the doctor just chew her out for running behind? Like, you know, like what, like, it's so interesting how our stories collide.
Yeah.
Not that you,
because I could have, I must have said, I just flew in from Florida like 10 times, but my point was, I am so tired. I'm on like 4 hours of sleep and I had a really hard week. And this is really upsetting me because my mother's suffering is really upsetting me. And I kind of tried to do that a little later. But I think it was too late.
I had a mentor once tell me when I see people behaving in ways that I don't want to be, it's just like, just say, thank you, God, for showing me how I don't want to be. So maybe that's what it is, Melissa.
Absolutely.
Thank you, God, for showing me who I was before and who I am not now.
Right.
And I love that you cleaned it up right away too.
Yeah.
Well, and I actually didn't talk to her. I called her once. She never returned my call. And I called again and she was either gone or something. And I said to the front desk lady, I said, I think you might have been there when I was there yesterday. And I think she's done it, you know, she doesn't want to talk to me and I don't blame her. So I said, if there's a voicemail, I'll leave a voicemail. If not, would you please tell her these things? And so she, in my former life, her not answering my phone call or calling me back would have escalated the situation. And you know what else is that kind of thing? It didn't go that way because I didn't take it personally. Like by that point, at that point, I was like, oh, well, she's hurt because she's hurt and I don't blame her. I'm, you know, like I kind of let it go and that I allowed myself to be learning and be where I was with it without hopping on this, like, oh, I'm so bad. All that judgment and punishing myself, which is former behavior as well. Right.
I have been practicing empowered self-reflection. So what is the empowered information I can take from this experience to continue my growth versus, stopping and getting back into the shame and blame and victimhood. Yeah. So I love that, Melissa.
Yeah, I love that too, Penny, because I've just really been realizing with my work with myself and other people, where we get ourselves so overwhelmed and off track is when we start judging ourselves and blaming ourselves and shaming ourselves. Like, I was just listening to Morgan's lovely 4-part series on Instagram, and I kept thinking, because Morgan was talking about neutral thoughts, and I kept thinking, what if I had done this differently and it was all neutral? Like, it would have been such a different experience. So it was just really good. I'm really kind of into like playing around with neutrality again. And like, how could that work in bringing the peace of God into my life?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Melissa, because when you shared that front desk lady's response and how cold and icy she was, I mean, I bristled. I had like a physical reaction. And we just talked about, defenselessness and attack and all of those things just like 1 or 2 episodes ago. And I know that if I was in your shoes, I would have jumped right back into defense or attack. Like those types of encounters with people that are so like aggressive in some kind of way, like they really hit you in the face. It takes such great willingness and such great practice. And I would like to be at the place where I could still respond with love and grace in that situation. I don't think I'm there yet.
You guys, my brain is having a hard time moving on. Does your mom have a doctor's appointment now?
How's your mom feeling?
How is your mom feeling? Like,
She passed. She passed.
That's rude. That's rude. Not funny.
I'm the lady. No.
She passed. Gas? Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Surely.
Oh, she would laugh. No, you know what? We got her appointment with a naturopath and and an acupuncturist, which is probably the way to go anyway with what she has. Again, rejection's God's protection. I think God was just like, come over to this path. You got to move over here. This is not where I want you. So,
And everybody got forgiveness opportunities too. So, in hindsight, you can see that it was all working together perfectly, even though it felt very prickly.
Yeah.
But you were there for the front desk lady and for the office manager to look at their shit, just like they were there to help you look at your shit. So, there was a win-win thing happening there, even though it felt deeply uncomfortable.
Yes.
God. Thank you, God.
Thank
you, God.
I have a question. I have a question that's a little bit to the left. It's like it came up when you were telling the story. And it could be because I've been listening to what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's my question. Like, I immediately started thinking, how did Melissa become the protector of her mother?
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't see myself responding that way about my mother, even though I know you said she was in pain. It felt like it was something more than that.
Oh, yes. Very astute of you and very insightful, because yes, it was my role with my sister was to protect my mother when we were growing up. And so, yes, that too. Like, I wonder like how old that person who showed up was. There's just a lot of old stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
How old do you think she was, Melissa?
I would say like 14.
I was going to say 15.
Yeah.
You're talking
Yeah.
about the Melissa that had to protect the child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like that response that I was used to as a younger person just came out of nowhere. Well,
if you were to take responsibility, did it really come out of nowhere?
no, that's what I said. Not really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But you know what, Drusilla, that when you just said that was like a little like pain in my heart when you said that, because it's true. And as my mother gets older and less independent, she's very independent still, but like just little things she's relying on us more. Maybe I just need to keep watching this and making sure that I help to protect her from an adult's perspective and not, a kid's.
Well, maybe advocate for her. Make sure that she's advocated for versus protecting.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice, Penny.
Mm-hmm.
Advocate's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to circle back around to what Drusilla said, What Happened to Me is a book by Oprah and Dr. something or another. I'm not sure.
Somebody. Yeah.
I think it's Dr. Robert Perry.
Yes, Perry. That's it. Exactly. Thank you, Penny. And it's about healing, like where our reactions come from, healing old wounds, like how they started and how they're manifesting. So I just wanted to add that, and we'll put a link to that, in the, whatever it's called, the comments. Yeah.
And when you listen, if anyone's interested in that book, and if you listen to it, it's literally Oprah and the doctor speaking with each other. I really love that because it feels, we all kind of know Oprah. She always feels like our big sister or something. So it's like, you know who's talking.
Yeah. Great book.
Even another book too that I've been reading in at the same time is It Didn't Start With You. And it's about inherited family trauma and understanding it and how that can help us to move beyond the suffering that we have. Because it may not have even started with you, Melissa. It could be something very old. It could be a great, 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 great grandfather's something or other that is just showing up right now with you in front of that receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fascinating stuff if you really take a look at it.
Yeah. And sorry, you go ahead, Amanda.
I was going to say one fascinating thing about our willingness about, so how did you get from the 14-year-old in your, family drama to where you are now? And for me, I can see you were demonstrating your willingness to finish that sentence, demonstrating the willingness to
be protected by the universe or by God. I have a tendency to feel like I have to protect myself and not, trust that, that I'm safe. Yeah. So I come out fighting.
Insightful.
Yeah. So you come out fighting because you don't feel safe.
Right.
And you're willing to be safe.
Yes.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, Morgan. Yeah. I didn't know.
Oh, no. This is just such a rich conversation. We're all like itching to get into it. I love it. I love also the demonstration, Melissa, that like, even if you didn't get it perfectly in the moment, you were able to rebound quickly and come back into your right mind and clean it up, as you said. And it was, what's the way that our teacher Jennifer Hadley describes it? the contrast shows you that you really value the peace of God, and it accelerates your willingness to get back to it as quickly as possible. So like we all still slip and fall, if you want to call it that. And it's all still perfect. And we still all, we're doing it. We're getting it done.
Thank you. Yeah. And there was also a thing, there was an intensity about me really caring for this woman that I had just shredded. Like, it was like, I woke up, I was like, oh my God, she's shaking. And I made her shake. I'm the one that made her so upset here. So, she's responsible for her reaction. We know that.
Right? You don't have that power, Melissa.
I know you. I knew it. I look right.
You are not God.
I know what she's going to say. I know that she's responsible for her reaction, but I had a different compassion for her that I wouldn't have had in the past for someone that effed me over. You know, so that's what was sticking in my mind overnight. I just kept, thinking of her being so upset, thinking of her not being able to go have lunch and be calm, or how I've impacted, how that happens when someone flips you off, or, some confrontation like that. I knew that was my responsibility to clean up.
I just want to know if there was a point in the unfolding where you had that ding, ding, ding moment where you recognized that you had deviated from love and you were starting to walk it back, or if that all happened in hindsight, or
no, I was like, our interaction just kept escalating. And so every time it escalated, I knew that I was right and she was wrong. And so, nope.
When did the bells go off? When did the ding ding finally hit you?
Oh my gosh. I came home, I talked to my sister, and I had people in my house, and I literally was not screaming, just kind of yell explaining. The F word was literally every second word I was saying.
I love the F word.
I do too. And there were some B words because I knew I was right. And so then after that, I just started bawling. I was just so tired. I just started crying. And then after I relaxed a little bit, like I got into bed and I just kind of relaxed. Then I started thinking that was not okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Spirit was able to get back in.
Yes. Yeah. My ego took a little break for a little bit.
Yeah. You're like the child who has the little temper tantrum on the sidewalk, and then you just kind of finally tuck her out.
Yeah, I totally tuckered out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, how long do you think it would have taken for the bells to go off?
Oh,
You'd still be in it?
I think I'd still be like,
you're the victim.
That's
that
it.
F and B.
F and B.
That F and B.
She would have also put a Yelp comment out about how horrible that office is. Never go. What else have you done, Melissa?
I did that in the waiting room.
Yeah.
And then by throttle, she was not going to mess with me. And by the end of the day, I removed it. And thank God I could.
Yeah.
And, Drusilla led a Sundays with Spirit through the Power of Love ministry. She was the preacher. What would you?
The speaker. Yeah.
The speaker. Yeah. And and you said something really interesting, Drusilla, about social media, and it is a place we can complain. Mm-hmm. And it was so interesting because what you were talking about, Drusilla had a similar but not as intense of a situation that she was talking about. And that was your topic. And I was going through this stuff. And and then the Instagram thing or the Yelp that I left. And then I was like, I was really using that just to complain and to put that out there. And I'm glad I pulled it back. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's not out there anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much, that's all it is.
I know you're
right. Comparing and complaining.
Say that again. I missed that first word.
Unless you curate your social media to not do that way, which I have done.
It is judging, comparing, and complaining.
Yeah.
Other than that, yes, awareness and, just marketing products, things like that. And we all appreciate it. Of course, our platform is advertised there. We promote, we market. But really, all in all, what do you think a percentage? 80, 90% is comparing, complaining, judging.
The format reinforces that behavior. And it encourages you to have a beef. And I mean, there's plenty of places you can also say beautiful things, but in a lot of places, it struck me because I used it that specific time last weekend when you're talking about it to complain and pull somebody down. And so it was a great reminder that that's not where I want to put my energy.
No.
Yeah.
And that's not acceptance either, right? It is a fine line,
mm-hmm.
Maybe the way you spoke to me was not okay. And
right.
You have your radical responsibility for your response. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you could have easily not said anything and sat down and sent her loving thoughts.
Yes.
That probably would have been more effective.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I could have done the same. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a situation recently where I felt when we were in Greece, and there were a group of people who kept jumping the line we were in, and it was a really long line. So the people that were with me were getting hot. I mean, they were really, and I just said to them, let's it's okay. It's not a big deal. And then they kept doing it. So it was becoming a big deal to them. And then I said, patience. I said, patience produces immediate results. Happened was 2 minutes after I said that, people running whatever the little thing was, the lift, came and got that group of people and took them to the other lift. And then that lift came and picked us up. That was just so perfect. And that lesson was more for me than anything, because I had just said that to myself. And I said, and I really, let's just say I hadn't really bought it. I hadn't really drank the Kool-Aid, but you know how you say things to kind of reinforce yourself. And yeah, instantly. So again, Melissa, when you were telling your story, I was thinking, sit down and send her some loving thoughts. Your mother would have seen the doctor, right? That's so the way it should be. But it just happens. And best part about it, like Morgan said, is that, yeah, you've spiraled down the wrong a little, but the fact that you corrected it you went so much further out, you really did. Yeah, you really did. And you would not have sprung so far ahead had you not had that experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you went so far with your intention to clean it up and make it right, if you will, that even though you weren't able to get a hold of the office manager, you still made sure to get through to her, and without expecting anything in return, not doing it for yourself and for your own guilty conscience, doing it for her. So, I mean, I think that shows tremendous growth. And I just want to say how grateful I am that we have each other to share in each other's celebrations and remind each other what we've done well, when all we can maybe see is what we've not done well. Like, it really is so powerful to be in spiritual community. And that's what I really wish for all of our listeners to have a group of peers that they can share in this way with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd much rather been doing Sundays with Spirit with you for. Yeah.
I was like, better her than me. I'm so glad that's not me.
Well, you could have told that beautiful story, Melissa.
I did to my one person. Yeah.
Great.
I'm going to be doing Sundays with Spirit coming up on the 23rd. I think it is. That's the date. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
Being in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a topic yet?
I don't think so. Things keep coming to me, like my story, my journey, like how I got to be where I am. That keeps coming up in my mind. So
sort of a testimony.
Yeah. It'll be. I assume that it'll be about testimony. Is a good word.
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah. That'll be on the 23rd of this month. And also, Drusilla, you could get the replay of Drusilla's Sundays with Spirit. I know they're on YouTube, Sundays with Spirit. And what was the date of that, Drusilla, so people can look you up on it?
July 9th.
July 9th.
Yes.
And you guys?
I was just going to say, we'll share the link in the description for how to sign up for Sundays with Spirit, just in case anybody's interested. So that is a Sunday service, if you will, that the Power of Love Ministry does every Sunday with a different speaker, a different guest musician every week. And it's really awesome. And it's a completely free offering. So we'll link all the details. And if you want to hear what Drusilla shared, which was amazing, we'll link to her specific, and we'll link to sign up to Amanda's upcoming one.
Yay.
Does Penny have a Post-it?
I've been trying to think of what we could do in my Post-its. And the only thing that I thought of was willingness. That's all it takes, right? Is willingness.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I said a great deal of willingness from you, Melissa.
Oh, thank you, Penny.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, I don't have my own Post-its, but I did write down what Drusilla said. Patience produces immediate results.
Infinite patience produces immediate results. Yes.
Is that a quote you got from someplace, or do you just make that up?
No, I didn't make it up. It course somewhere.
God, I love that.
It could be. We'll have to look it up and see, but yeah.
Infinite patience produces results.
Immediate results.
Immediate results. Okay. I'm writing that down.
And there's like a logic behind it. I said that to one of my girlfriends a couple of weeks ago. I was on a roll. And and this was in reference to dating. And she said, well, you're going to have to help me make sense of this. And what Spirit gave to me was to ask her the question, how did you meet the guy you're dating now, which was the guy she was complaining about? And she told me the story that he walked into the place they were in, the cigar bar or lounge or something, and he came up and started talking to her. And I said, your husband was the guy walking right behind him. Mm-hmm. Right? You settled for without being patient. You took what was right in front of you. So, and that just helps me explain it to people. So I'm like, it's such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, yes, infinite patience produces immediate results.
Because you're giving up the attachment. And we all know that, you know, you're giving up the attachment and thinking that you know and that you have all the answers.
And we think when we have to be patient that it's going to be forever.
Yes.
And that's
the word infinite makes it even worse.
Yes. I love it.
Beautiful. Thanks for the story, Melissa.
Melissa.
Really, enrapturing. Fully invested and captivated by the story. And I think we all benefited and learned a lot from it. So thank you for sharing all of that. Well, I was going to announce the 2 Sundays with Spirits, but we've already mentioned those. So I'll just put the details in our episode description. So you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and of course on our website, which is 5lemonslaughing.com. And we'll just do a bookend shout out. Since Amanda started us off with the shout out, I just want to say hello to Amy Calhoun and Linda Soto. Both of them are friends of ours from the Power of Love Ministry who have reached out to let us know that they've been listening. So we're so grateful for love and support. And we love you. We'll see you next week.
I have a couple friends I want to say hi to.
Oh, please. Yeah.
They're in Iraqi, and to Coconut, who lives in Costa Rica, and her name is Courtney, but she goes by Coconut.
I love it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.